Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, happy Wednesday, dear loves. It is Corinne with Soulshift Channeling. I am so happy to be here. Today is going to be a collective reading. I think two, perhaps pick a pile Akashic Record readings, and then we'll have a collective message at the end as I close. And at the beginning here, we're starting something new. Let me know what you think about it. And it's kind of tuning into or just sharing the current energetics that I am experiencing and witnessing to kind of commiserate and orient you to this space. And I don't know, it just seems like a fun thing to do. I want to have more transparency between I love to establish transparency between readers and clients, and this is part of that. So welcome. Let's jump in with what I've been feeling lately. I am noticing some, it just feels very quiet. We are at the beginning of the year at the time this is being recorded and released, although you can check in with it at any time because time is not linear, my friends. I know our understanding of it is, but energetics, I guess I should say, are not linear. So yeah, let that weave as it needs to. But I'm feeling a lot of spaciousness, a lot of quiet. It almost feels like there's this whole field of space around, kind of like castle moat energy, where for me personally at least, it feels like I've got this buffer zone around me that if people come into, they come clear or correct, or at least there's transparency. I don't feel like there's a lot of illusion that's making it past a certain energetic field around me. Ooh, excuse me. And I'm really liking that, honestly. I personally am letting go of this need to have people show up perfectly in my life. Which I hate to say that I feel like I have had that in the past, but I'm sure, but I have, you know, and I also have an expectation for myself to show up perfectly, whatever that is. And it's been so liberating to let people come as they are, to recognize people as they are, and to let that be okay, you know, because we all need space to be ourselves. And I also believe the more space we have to be ourselves, the more we can shift and embody the beinghood and the personhood that truly fits us. Because I think we come in or we are taught and learned a lot of programming, and I think it's a lot to sort through as a young adult, as an adult, as a human in the world, when a lot of that programming comes in before we have particular defenses up, before we know more information as a child and as a society and a culture. So I really like creating space. One of my founding principles is, let me finish that thought. I really like creating space for people to be who they are and for people to be accepted as who they are. And one of my founding principles is, oh gosh, and now I'm going to forget the person who said it, but it's only when I accept myself as I am that I can then change. And I don't know why in this life I came on such a mission to change and shift and evolve, but that's something that's a constant for me and that I just love, that gives me a lot of richness and depth in my life, and that I really love showing up and helping other people with. But before that can really happen, I do believe that we have to accept ourselves as we are, and we have to recognize and acknowledge and see ourselves as we are, because there are reasons for that. So I've been thrilled with people coming into my perception in space with more space to be as they are. And I'm not sure if that's been, I think part of that has been a shift in a willingness for me to see people more clearly. and not just vision their higher selves, not just vision who they are yet to become or who they can become, which is something that I'm very good at doing, which is why I do this job, which is why I'm a channel and a reader and a soul coach, because that visioning is very clear, or I should say accessible to me. But beyond that, yeah, I also think it's a two-way street. It's giving myself permission and giving other people permission to just be as they are. And I've been very fortunate lately to be surrounded by some folks who are very open and willing to see people as they are, for the good parts and the bad parts. I recently started a new day job at a flower shop. If you don't know, I love to work in flower shops. And it's been such a gift for people to just be like, this is how this person is. You know, it's not my favorite trait or quality about them, but this is how they are. And here are some really good things about them. And I'm just like, oh, yum, that's delicious. I love that. A community that's functioning with acceptance for the good parts and the bad parts of each of us. So I'm very thankful for that influence. Anyway, I'm so happy to be here today. Happy Wednesday. Let's go ahead and shift and jump into our channeled connection today. If you have not been here before, welcome. If you have, you know how it goes. But basically, I am a channel and an Akashic Record reader. The Akashic Records are the structure that I use to connect to and engage in channeling practices. So I connect with people's higher selves, or we all have souls. Inanimate objects have souls. We all have soul paths and missions, and I love that. It's so good. When I spent a short stint of time in clinical mental health counseling education. I was in a master's program, and career counseling is a whole branch of clinical mental health counseling, and it always fascinated me. So I love that shows up here on, it's kind of like our soul careers, our soul paths, our soul missions, our energetic roles and jobs and responsibilities. It's just like so good. And we all have them, all of us, people and pets and animals, businesses, brands, pieces of furniture, houses, properties, trees, you name it, all have energetic intention when they come to this planet. And part of my job is to, get to look at those and share that information with people who are curious to find out more. So if that's for you and you're interested in that kind of connection or exploring that on a personal level, reach out to me. You can book it on my website, which is soulshiftchanneling.com. All right, my loves, like, share, and subscribe. And let's go ahead and establish this connection. So I'll go ahead and say a blessing. That is my practice. That was how I was taught to connect in this way. And we'll get opening imagery and metaphor that'll come through, a collective message. Then we'll tune into at least 2, maybe more readings today for you to choose from. And then when I close, there'll be a collective message as well. So feel free to jump around with the timestamps below, and I'll see you when I see you. Okay. My center with your center, our center with all centers, our center as the one center. I enter the realm of masters, teachers, and loved ones of the collective. Of this collective. And match our hearts and minds with theirs. Let us find, through joy and wisdom, the ability to open the universe and ourselves to greater possibility and deeper love. Eternal Source, fill our hearts with clarity and sacred power, and show us this collective's place of balance. Hear us now as we become one with the whole. When we are complete, release us in love and admiration, keeping our energy raised. The records are open. All right, my dears, kind of clear on the imagery front today, which is definitely unusual. But the one thing I definitely did see was like one of those triangle flags that like is at the top of a like a buggy. What would you call them? Like a, not a race car, but like a kid's race car, like um a racetrack. Why is that concept escaping me? Go-karts. Yeah, like you would sometimes see at the top of a go-kart, but it was a short one. It was a short flag. And I see you using this flag as a tool. It's like not being used for its original intent and purpose, which is to be a marker or an indicator, to catch attention. And what it really is being done is put to use. I see like it's almost like being used as a stylus or as like a tool to how do you say, like dig stuff out of like grout, you know, almost like if it's on a stick, it's almost like you're kind of getting the grout out of or the grime out of grout or something like that. The message here seems to be almost like MacGyver-esque. If you've ever watched or heard of MacGyver, it was a show back in the day, and he was always like very resourceful. He would use three seemingly unrelated things to kind of build or create a contraption that would save the day. And it's always kind of a treat to see how people use and repurpose information. We don't need to have such a deep attachment to how tools are used, or it feels more like information here. Conversations that we have with other people or information that comes through, many of us are messengers here, and it kind of reminds me of different thought systems on giving money or resources to those in need. Some people are want to control how their contribution is used, right? Some people will be like, okay, well, I want to give this person on the street money, but I don't want them to use it for drugs or for alcohol. I want them to use it for food and this, it's just not the way, friends. It's just not the way. It's not the way. The empowering of individual sovereignty requires that we allow others to have free will and choice over the decisions that they make, even with our own contributions. We can earmark our contributions for particular tasks, and that's making our requests known or making our continued support aware. There's no problem with this. I worked for a nonprofit, for a couple of different nonprofits for a number of years, and people would give their donations to us, right, for different things. But many people wanted it to go to, as my boss would say, like what would he say? It was like the categories or the spending areas that were sexy, like the high impact. We were working with kids in outdoor education, and an organization that does that needs resources like physical tools to do that, but they also need to pay their instructors. They also need to pay the HR person. They also need to like allocate money towards rent for the building that houses the people who organize the tasks that help the people go out and serve the community that they're wanting to serve. And all the people who would send their donations really want to, like, they're sending their donations in because they like the impact of the mission. They like the impact of what the organization is doing. And it's so important to understand that to have impact, you have to have a strong foundation. You have to have a lot of other things in place before you get that impact. And I don't know exactly why this is coming up, but I guess it's to request or to draw your attention to the importance and value of strengthening the foundation that people can then act from, right? It might not be super sexy for your contribution to be used for razor blades or toothpaste, but those are the foundational things that allow someone to feel supported enough to go out and get a job, right? Or to go out and apply for a loan to get a house. So things like this. It's time to stop controlling where our contributions go beyond the step of transferring them to another person. Okay, the next thing is we can get feedback and see how people are using our contributions and see if they are, I understand. Okay, see if they're like using them for good. Sometimes, recently I was working for someone and, helping her company grow and helping her business be established and contributing my life force energy. And I wasn't in alignment with the personal choices she was making, not as a result of my direct work, but with the success of her business, the way she was living her life wasn't in alignment with me. So it was difficult for me to continue to give my life force energy to someone who was benefiting from it and then utilizing it or spending it in a certain way that was not in integritous alignment with me. And so that's something where we can get feedback, right? I can't control how she uses my support, right? I can control what I do in the business, but as far as like the support, the secondary support that comes from a business that's successful or doing well enough or whatever, I can't control what she does with that success from there. However, if it's a repeat thing, if it's over and over and over and over that you're in continued relationship with someone or you're continuing to invest in someone and you're finding that you're no longer in alignment with how they're using the benefits of your contributions, it's absolutely within your, again, like it's your will of where to allocate your contributions, right? And if you're no longer vibing with that, then it's time to change. And that's okay. It's not punishing, it's not mean. It's maintaining integrity of who you are and where your life force energy wants to go, right? And that is a really important role in getting all of us right, I'm hearing. So as far as this like flag that's like being used to pick out grout, right? Like there's something to be said for like, is it being used to do that one time, right? Like, or it's like you're hitting a block in the road or an obstacle and you look around and you see the tools that you have available to you and you use something briefly versus using it habitually. And I feel like the message here for us is examining the kind of support we get from other people, and if it's like a one-time use versus habitual use, if it's an integrity, if it feels in alignment like that, we can check on that in every, on either side, whether we're the one contributing or whether we're the one receiving. And it behooves us to connect with people within this exchange and communicate and say, hey, are these, well, we don't always have to clarify the way that we're going to be using support, but in the rewiring of society that's happening, in rewiring of energetics, in rewiring of the flow of energy, and in wiring correct patterns and most direct routes, it's important to
not have too much of an attachment to particular resources, because they might get reallocated. If the allocation is pulled, to trust that there's a different kind of support that's going to come in. Yeah. And also this concept of like this flag that came in the very beginning, it was an orange flag, not a red flag, but like an orange, like just, it feels like a warning, right? Whatever is coming through right now, it's like it's a warning to take stock of how we're using energy, how we are allowing our energy to be used. And that feels like the biggest asterisk of like, how are we allowing our energy to be used? Because even when it is out of our hands, it's still not entirely out of our responsibility. Okay, that feels like it was direct and landed eventually. Okay, my dears, we're gonna go ahead and tune in to 3 different readings today. 1, 2, or 3. Yellow, orange, or blue. Yellow is a circle, orange is that triangle, and blue is a blue square. Group 1, yellow circle. Group 2, orange triangle, or group 3, blue square. Let's go ahead and tune in to a little bit more info for each of those. Let me know if you guys like having a little bit more information here to choose your group, or if you just really like going on the emoji alone. Yeah, I hear it like going on the emoji alone. Okay. So we're going to do that today. No extra info. Let me know if that's something that you missed and we'll bring it back. All right. So let's go ahead and jump right into group 1, yellow circle. All right, my dears. The sentiment "slow and steady wins the race" comes to mind, but I don't feel like you're moving very slow, although it's very steady. I feel like you are picking up speed. It feels like you're kind of flowing at a pretty good clip. I feel like your task of like getting going, like startup energy, like that may have been what you have been dealing with in the past, but that's not what's plaguing you now, or that's not what you're working with now. Now it feels like you're in motion and things are coming up quicker and quicker. It's like if you've ever played a video game, or specifically like DDR is coming to mind, where you've got songs playing and you've got to hit arrows, or Guitar Hero or something like that, where it's like the pace is quickening and you're like, oh, okay. And you like really need to like focus and pay attention. And I'm getting this feeling of like leaning right and then leaning left. It feels more important here that you are looking further ahead. They want you to not have to come up something so quick and then jump out of the way, or stop your rhythm or path to get out of the way. That doesn't feel correct. It feels more important to kind of steer your direction with leaning a little bit more. We don't want you turning on a dime. It's too disruptive. We want a slow slalom, kind of like when you're skiing. It's like you're not making right and left turns. You're leaning, or snowboarding. You're leaning, and it really just shifts your direction completely. The way that this plays out in your life is leaning into and out of people, right? As opposed to opening and closing doors, which feels very on-off, very 0-1, very binary, black-white. You're being encouraged to operate in the grayscale of like taking more space, leaning in or leaning out of relationship. Oops, there we go. And this is not only just like physically or being physically, but energetically too. I feel like if you're like learning skiing, I don't know if you've ever learned to ski before, but learning to ski, it's incredible how subtle your movements need to be, how subtle your body shifts can be, and it can have a really pretty significant impact on the direction that you go. This is what we want you to start doing with your energy, is practicing minor adjustments in your energetic field. I feel like you have been on off binary before of like, yes, I'm engaging with this person's energy outside of the physical realm, or no, I'm not. And it's like, whoa, let's pull back here and practice leaning in and leaning out, leaning in and leaning out, leaning in and leaning out. And doing so kind of slowly, and then recognizing and reading the response. So the importance here is less like leaning in, leaning out, leaning in, leaning out, like I just said, and more like, I'm going to pull back. And then I'm going to let some time pass and see how it plays out. Witness how it shifts. Witness what I experience in my surroundings, what I experience in my own energy field, what I experience somatically in regards to my nervous system. A lot of this feels like nervous system based information. Because I am understanding that part of what your nervous system is trying to tell you, it's just becoming so loud because you're not listening to it. And then then it just like overwhelms your senses or system. So if you can slow down and just lean one direction for a little ways, and allow yourself to receive the feedback or information, it's going to be so much more impactful to your skill level and to your ability to connect and to your ability to engage in whatever it is that you're working with here. Like it could be a job situation or a family situation or a relational situation or, animal situation. It can be a lot of different things, but whatever this is hitting for you, it's about clarifying connection and really fine-tuning the details, period. Okay, so just like driving a car, you need to pay attention to different things all at the same time. Like if you can remember when you started learning to drive the car, learning how to ski, like you need to pay attention to the obstacles in your path, the left, right. You need to pay attention to your speed. You need to pay attention to those around you that aren't obstacles, road signs, and then the path on where you want to go. And this is something that I feel like has kind of fallen off of the plate, is clarifying where you want to go, reminding yourself of where you want to be. And this is kind of calling in the message from the very beginning of talking about how we want our investments to be used. And I think that there are a lot of different fragments of messaging that came through in that space. But the important one for this particular group is knowing and having familiarship, having familiarity with the goal, right? And it's not to say that the goal in your brain is where you're going to end up. That's not what I'm saying. It's more important to have a connection through your soul, through your heart, through your somatic, through the innermost part of your body, not the most analytical, very biological part of your body, but an energetically informed aspect of who you are. And for different people, they hold this in different places. Like a lot of us connect through our hearts, many more connect through our souls. And then even more, connect through like root chakra, feet, like energetic from the planet. It depends on where you came from, you know what I mean? Like energetically speaking, and what kind of mechanics are keeping you informed here on the planet. But whatever your connection point is like, and if you want more, if you want to talk about that book of reading, and we can tune into what your connection is like and how it speaks to you, if that's something that you want clarity on. But tune into the part of you that is energetically informed, you know what I mean? And it's important to get your guidelines and directions from here. And perhaps guidelines and directions is not the right thing to say, to get your goal through this space, right? Because your soul, for me it's very soul based. My soul may, like, she doesn't care how we get there, right? That's the rest of the body's responsibility. And honestly, that's like the co-contracting I have with my environment, with the people around me, like with the universe. And that's constantly shifting and changing and evolving, because people shift and change and evolve, and we change our minds and we make different decisions, and that's okay. That's why that part of me does not have ownership or control over that aspect, or that's something that I'm coming into right relationship with, or constantly coming into right relationship with, is letting go of control where I don't need it. But it is important to maintain integrity and maintain alignment, maintain energetic information with where my soul wants to go, what it wants to do in this life, you know, how it wants to impact this being and creature, and how it wants to impact other beings and creatures. And that is important and is essential to keep in mind. The imagery from the very beginning with the flag, almost being like used as a stylus, like now I'm seeing it being used as like a pen or a pencil, like, you know, those like pens with pom-poms on the top or something like this, where it's like, or if you go to the DMV or something and they're sick of their pens being taken, they'll sometimes tape like big things like American flags or silk flowers, something, so it's like it's not as easy to stick in your purse, like, because people, it's not like they're intentionally stealing them. It's like they forget, they have forgetfulness, they have habits, and we also have habits and patterns with our behaviors that don't always necessarily keep our goal top of mind. It can be easy to lose sight of our goals when if we don't have something glaring to help keep them present with us. And so this group is feeling like it'd benefit from putting some of that orange triangle, like that flag energy, taping something to your goals, putting them up on the wall, putting them on your mirror, but making a touchstone out of them so you can carry them with you every single day, you know? Like it almost feels like a physical object or a physical good that comes with you in your pocket, around your neck, in your purse, in your wallet, so you can see it all of the time. So it feels important. The takeaways from this group are, number one, identify that goal. No, let's back up. Number one, connecting with your energetic input point, right? Not your brain. Although for some of you, it may be. For some of you, like soul energy to me is like brain energy for you. But making sure that your energetic entrance point into your body, however your energetic body is connected to your bio body, your physical body, making sure that center, that space is where you're connecting. Number two, getting your goal from that space. And number three, making it accessible on the daily. Okay, y'all. I think that's all I've got for this group. Thank you. If you want to talk about what your goals are, or if you want more information, or if you want a co-navigator on fleshing that out, that's what I'm here for. Book online, and if you have questions, please reach out. But yeah, many blessings, many encouragement, and know that you're not alone. And I'm gonna remind myself, I'm not alone in this. This is a beautiful place to be and to be exploring, because it's just, it's so exciting. It's like Lewis and Clark of your own destiny, guys. That's so cool. That's so cool. Exploring the map, creating the map. Your soul is literally creating the map of experience that it wants to have. And you are in charge. And how brilliant. Welcome. All right, my dears. Let's jump into group two. Hi. So group 2, you're represented by an orange triangle. It's not the same as the orange triangle at the beginning, but it is quite present. The energetic that I'm feeling for you right now is like very stable, solidly planted, precise, and kind of like X marks the spot, like very pin, like, you know, those locations, like an upside down teardrop shape. I feel like you have arrived at your destination. I feel like you're at the place you want to be. Wow. You're at the place you want to be. Yeah, I'm so proud. I would be so proud of that. Congratulations, guys. That's a big freaking, we need to take a moment to celebrate here, because being at the place you want to be is something that people go their literal entire lives not being able to get to. That is insane. That's it. You're here. You are here. You are, I'm hearing unaligned, online. Yeah, I almost feel like you're there before it's time, or you're there before it's ready, or like, okay. So you need to take a moment to celebrate. And I recognize the other aspect of this, where it's like, not that you feel stuck, but it's like things aren't happening, or things aren't, I get it. It's like you're early and you can't wait for it to begin. Yes. Okay. So let's enlighten the other aspect of your role here as an X marks the spot, as one of those location bubble buttons, because sometimes when a certain experience is trying to happen, or whatever it is that this is in regards to for you, sometimes part of that actually happening takes someone to anchor it in, or to tell things where to land. And I have a feeling that part of your role and responsibilities to have you, part of your role right now is acting as that landing pad, or as that, like, you know, the helicopter lands on a helicopter pad that has a certain symbol on it, to let the pilot know that that's a safe place to land. That's the right place to land. It feels important that you know the amount of integrity that you are required to have for this to go off smoothly and without a hitch. You are not supposed to take skip steps, shortcuts, cut corners. None of that for you. I'm seeing concrete being laid. I'm laughing because I had an experience with concrete being laid the other day. But you have to make sure a lot of layers are correct before you even get to that part where you're painting the helicopter symbol on the land, right? You have to excavate a little bit. And I feel like you have been in the excavation process, and and it feels like, oh boy, it just feels like yeah. Oh, guys, I'm so sorry. I hate this part of the process. I hate this part of the process for you. You know, when you're like cleaning or you're in the middle of a project and it's like, it gets worse before it gets better. I feel like that is where you're at, it's worse. And it's almost that part where you're just like, I'm exhausted. Can I make it through this whole, can I make it all the way? Do I have the staying power? Do I even want this anymore? Do I even want it? Do I want it? Yeah, and I've been in this place. And what I recognize for you is that when I know this place is not a fun place to be in, where you're kind of questioning your investment, you're questioning your time, you're questioning your decisions. You're like, this doesn't look like what it was supposed to. And no, it doesn't, because you're excavating, right? You're making sure that the foundation, I feel like this was part of the beginning message too, of like the foundation. It's the unsexy part, right? It's like, it's not showy. You're not even going to see it after when the project's completed, right? But it unequivocally, like if you take shortcuts here, it will not exist. It cannot exist. It will not happen. It doesn't work, right? And like, that sucks, because when you build a house on a shoddy foundation and then you've got serious problems 5 years into it, you just took like a 15-year delay. You know what I mean? You just took like a lot. You just kind of shot yourself in the foot, right? And I know that you want it fast. I know that you want it now, but I know that more than that, you want it right. And so that's what I'll leave you with on that front is, I know you want it right. And guess what? You get to have it right. And take breaks whenever you need to in this position. Whenever you need to, when you're digging out all the ookie gookies and all the shadow and all the yuck and the unstable, all the instability in the subconscious, all the instability in the land, all the instability that you're kind of bringing out right now. Take as many breaks as you need, because you want to do it right. And I know you're going to do it right. There's no question about that. I just think you need a little bit of encouragement, maybe some motivational snacks and motivational speakers along the way. But more than that, you need to take rest when it's time to rest, because your body knows what to do. I don't know if you listened to the first reading, but if you did, you can go back to it if you want, of like, you have the fortune to be very clear on your goal. You know what you want, and you have already arrived to the spot that it's going to exist one day. And when you get that rough feeling of like, I don't know if I even want this anymore, I don't know if I can make it through, yada da 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 da, allowing yourself to rest is going to allow that goal to come forward and to speak to you and to remind you what you want it for, what's on the line, what you're going to get to experience. And that's going to help you kind of turn yourself upside down from this like pin to a triangle that's like that has a very unmovable, strong foundation, right? Like a triangle like this, super wobbly, is not going to stay like that, or is like very precariously balanced. And we want to flip you from here to here, where you have an unshakable, solid foundation. And that triangle this way is only really going to work well if what's below it is not going to erode in the first rainstorm, right? You are flushing out certain things because there will be storms that come. It's inevitable. And you want the foundation to have integrity. You don't want to get a bunch of sinkholes after the first big fight, right? Or after the first, something last week came through of like going for distance, going for speed. You're going for integrity, Yeah, so just feel encouraged. It also feels important here to future pace a little bit, to establish like a mind map of events so you know what's coming next. Yeah. Okay, it feels important to note that I'm drinking decaf coffee. Sometimes we need the groundingness that's not going to zing us up. And I feel like this is a theme for you lately of needing to put your ass on the ground without kind of plugging in the connection yet. Yeah. Like if you're establishing wiring in a house, like it's important to ground the connection first before you even introduce electrical current into it. Because if the electrical current is too much for the system, which it may very well be, especially at the beginning of a connection, if there is nowhere for that extra electricity to go, if it's not grounded, if that overflow can't go into the ground and get dispersed, it will burn out the system and it will destroy what you've just built immediately. You know what I mean? So this is the name of the game. As you're going through and building your foundation, make sure that you are building like that you're tethering your roots, you're tying your body, soul down to the ground. Okay. And so then what comes next? So if we're laying concrete and making the helicopter pad, right? So it can come in, blah, 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 whatever. So you dig out the foundation, then you fill it back in, and what you fill it back in with needs to be devoid of major flaws. It needs, like, you kind of need to go through it with a fine-tooth comb. And I'm almost like saying, like, you know, if you're baking, I think the right way to do things, if you're adding flour, is to measure it out, but then to sift the flour into it so there aren't these compact chunks of flour. And that's kind of important in soil with planting too, of like when you put soil into a pot, like you eventually are going to want to pack it all down around a plant, but before you do that, you want to break up any major chunks. Yeah, again, adding brown sugar to something. Brown sugar can clump really easily, and you almost want to break up those clumps so that way it can mix in really evenly. If you need to know how this applies directly to your situation, reach out and we can discuss. However, that's going to be the next part of when you're packing your stuff back in, when you are, and it does feel like actually like packing, when you're packing to move, when you're packing, like, I don't know, if you've been in therapy and then you start exiting therapy, right? You kind of go over all the things you've covered, you pack it all back in, right? If you are cleaning out a closet, you take everything out, get rid of what you need to, and then you pack it back in. That process of whatever you're going to be doing, of packing it back in, that happens next. Then from there, you kind of firm it all up. You make sure the surface is smooth. And this is where I'm like, I hear like you take it for a test drive, right? You like go out and about and make sure there aren't any major, like you let the ground settle, you let it rain a couple times, and you continue to just pack it in and level and level and level and level. This feels like communication and connection, of like leveling with someone, being honest, being clear with someone, whatever this situation is like for you. Like in the case of a new job, or discussing a contract for new terms of employment, or new relationship connection, it's like going over and over, like you're going to go back and forth a couple times to hash out and suss out the contract to make sure that it's good for both parties. And that's just how you do business. You just go back and forth a couple of times until it's smooth, until it's level. This is also something I'm seeing people pour concrete again now, like where you want to have multiple eyes on this job, right? the more eyes you can see, the more level it becomes. And this is where it almost feels like from the very beginning, you know, how that flag was not being used as it was originally intended. It was like used as a tool. That's where I can see that flag being like dragged across the top as like a flat thing to kind of get things really level. This is the part where you need to take those orange flags, right? Not red flags, not green flags, orange flags, yellow flags, specifically orange flags. Yellow flags are fine. That's a little bit different of an experience. Orange flags, stuff that's like, I'm not so sure about this. This could turn into a red situation pretty fast. You need to get down at that level. You need to be very close to that, and you need to be using that as a tool to check how smooth. You need to use that in the contract part, in the experience of going back and forth. You need to be talking about those things, right? They have to come to the surface. They literally have to come to the surface and level it out, right? Because those orange flags don't always have to be red flags. It's really helpful in a construction site to have flags that mark boundaries and edges, right? You want to have flags that say, hey, do not come here. Do not come to this space. It is not ready yet. It is not good to go. We have not poured the concrete, and we don't want people walking through the dirt at this point. And when you're building a relationship, when you're building a career, when you're building whatever this is that you're building, a business, when you're, whatever this is for you, whatever this whole thing is for you, there's a part of it where it's unstable and unsteady, and it won't always be that way, but it needs protection. It needs boundaries, and it needs flags. And you need to understand if the people that are involved are going to respect, recognize, and heed those flags. Because if they are unable, unwilling, or disregard those kinds of communications, then you're going to have similar kind of problems down the line. Okay, that's pretty clear. All right, and so then pouring the concrete. Yeah, that's when you pour it. So once the ground is all flat on this helicopter pad, once the dirt is all flat, then you pour the concrete, and it's likely that you have those same flags up at the edge. You have those same markers off at the edge when you pour the concrete. And if you have someone walking across in the dirt, then they're probably going to walk across the concrete. And that's not something you can just fill in. Dirt, you can fill it, dig up a little bit, you can fill it in really easily. Concrete, you cannot. You can't just patch over it. That's a flaw in the foundation. So I'm seeing when you pour concrete, when concrete is getting poured, there are usually multiple people around. And it's that kind of view of like when you see construction workers, there's always someone standing around. And there's such a major misconception about this of like, you know what? Ugh, I don't know, just burns my biscuits. Overseeing, keeping an eye out. Prairie dogs, when they're feeding, there's always at least a couple of them on lookout, right? And because there are people looking out and surveying and listening on a certain network, listening on a certain frequency, it allows the others to do their job with more safety, security, and effectiveness because they're not having to look out as well. So this specialization that allows for a much stronger, more complete, more intact product. Yeah, this is going to be a long group today. That's okay. All right, and so the concrete gets poured. And again, you might still have a lookout. It just depends on the situation, right? If you have set up clear boundaries and you can trust that the concrete is cured enough, you're able to walk away and let it dry on its own. But what I'm seeing is done during this process. The concrete's gotten poured, the concrete's leveled, it's been marked off. Now I'm seeing you walk around and prep the area for the next set of skills, for the next set of directions, right? I'm seeing you put things away. You know, it's like the task has been done, but then you do the cleanup, and the cleanup that you do, it kind of sets the stage for the next phase of work to come in and people to not have to clean up before they have to do things. This part looks like before you move, packing things in boxes that all go to the same room and place. A lot of staging in that part of the process. Gathering of supplies, getting things clean, like a lot of sweeping, a lot of energetic sweeping. This feels like getting rid of old stagnant energy in different areas of your life. And I'm saying all of this not to say you don't do it all at once. Do you see that these are consecutive steps? Like they happen one at a time. It's just to give you, I feel like this group, it's just to give you a sense of security and knowing what's coming, right? It's going to look different literally, but energetically, this is how you're going to know what phase you're in, and knowing the energetic signature can kind of put your belly at ease, because you know where you're at and you know where you're going. Because a lot of what's happening with this group is that you have to stay in the same place. I would always say, I'm more of a flighty person myself. And when I was working in restaurants, I was a server, and I had so much admiration for our kitchen staff, because if shit really hit the fan, like they had to stay in the same position, in the same place, right? They had to, the line cook was on the line through it all. That was their spot. Whereas me, it's like I had the ability to go spend energy and go from here to here to here to here to here to here to here. You don't have that luxury at this point in time. You are needing to ground and stay the location. You're staying in the same place. And so I recognize that when there is a lot of electricity or energy or information or stress or just energy to work through in your body, it's important. Again, this is the importance of grounded foundation, of grounding in the foundation, because you need to have a place for that energy to go, because you can't exercise your body to dispel it that way. Okay. The last part, I don't know if there's polishing of this concrete or not. I don't think that's really necessary. It is possible. It depends on what kind of information you're gathering. But the next part is like painting the sigil, painting the signature, painting. And this feels like the marriage, the like the signature, the start date, the sale of the house, it feels like a catalyst. It feels like a closure. It feels like a quick, you know, experience there. And yeah, from there you have to, I mean, it's just a short period of time that you have to let it dry. You have to make sure that you make that choice, not when it's going to rain, you know, not in the middle of an emotional tumult, right? You sign a contract when it's a sunny, clear day, when you have clarity, when you have all the light to see all the shadows, you know what I mean? Ideally, you want to get married on a day, like it's okay if it rains a little bit, but it's like you want the rain. You don't want physical rain's one thing, emotional rain and like emotional tumult and confusion is not really the best time to establish a marriage, to start a marriage, right? You want to have clarity, you want to have structure, you want to have solid foundation and connection with the person that you're making that agreement with. The last part of this helicopter pad is needing to retouch the paint over time, right? this feels like an annual review, or like a renewal of vows, or just relationship counseling, or if you buy a house, you know, keeping it up. This concept of if you want to stay in the same place and have a strong foundation solidly over time, it's going to take occasional, way more minor, but still necessary upkeep to keep the functionality of this helicopter pad going. And then the end all be all for this group is the connection to the experience of why you're doing it. It's so, and it feels like a helicopter pad for a hospital. It feels like souls landing. It feels like life-saving. This helicopter pad feels like pretty life impacting, pretty life or death, like food that will sustain life, medical supplies that will sustain life, wounded people who are coming in to get their lives sustained. Yeah, it just feels very important, which is why I think you're okay with this process taking so long, is because it's so impactful, because it is so intense, and because it is so imperative to the work that you want to do in the world. I am so proud of you. Thank you. Yeah, I am here for your pain and dedication, and your pain in dedication. I know that dedication can feel painstaking at times, and I'm here to recognize your willingness to do that. And I'm also here to celebrate and commemorate that, going back to the position that you're in now where you're excavating, you're like, I don't know if I can do this, that those times, like even if you think of you're at the gym or you're in a workout, you're in a game, you're on a hike, you're in one of those moments where you're like, physically, I don't know if I can do this right now. And yeah, it just is so important. And also those times, making it through those times gives you such a boost in knowing that you can do these things in the future. The harder of the experience that you go through now, that depth of difficulty and challenge is the same depth of rootedness, of solid foundation, and of structure that your resilience is going to be known to. I hope that makes sense. Group 2, I'm so proud of you. I'm so thankful to know that there are people doing this hard work in the world and creating helicopter pads for really important connections to be made. And yeah, I know that these are being established all over, and I want you to know that these are being established all over the world. So there is a network of people who are not alone that continue to interweave and strengthen the network of connectedness that we all have. All right, thank you, group 2. All right, group 3. All right, group 3, you guys are the blue block. All right, and although we've had this emoji come up in past readings, I'm hearing that this is not connected to those. So love to hear that. Okay, group 3. I'm seeing they look like gumdrops, or you know those LED lights that they're just like, they're gumdrop shaped, they're rounded at the top, and I feel almost like a winding path of these. And I feel like there's an image kind of like this in a movie. I don't know if it's a kid's movie or what, where it's like certain lights light up and they do one at a time. I feel like you are on a pathway, but it feels almost like you're moving through fog or a dense forest or something where you can't see the entire path. And it almost feels like, how do they say this? Like hewn in, where you've got something ahead of you and something behind you. It doesn't really feel like you have the ability to move. I hear like there's no going back from here. Or you can, but you can't even see where you came from. The path behind you is not disappearing. It's there, it still exists, but it's falling into darkness as soon as your footsteps leave it. I feel like it's not like your body is illuminating the path, but it feels like your body is holding and maintaining and like the antenna for a charge that as you move, the next light lights up. I'm now thinking of Stranger Things. Hi, Phoebe. I'm now thinking of Stranger Things. Have you seen the most recent installment? They are, the kids are, if you don't know the premise of the story, it's a group of kids, very Goonies-esque. It's so good. That's trying to track a Demogorgon, a bad guy, right? A bad energy. And they're trying to track a signal that they can't necessarily see, but they can pick up on. And it's very much like using tools around to like playing the hot or colder. Are we closer or are we far? You know, it's kind of like that. And so these lights that are around you, I feel like the lights are on the path. And when you walk, the next one lights up and you kind of just follow. It's like breadcrumbs. You're just following one breadcrumb at a time. But the important aspect here is that your presence is what's lighting them up. Your presence is what's carrying the current. Whew. All right. And so what is so important here, guys, is it's your presence, is your personhood. And so this is for a couple of things. It's one, because it's energetic. It's not going to be physical. It's not something that you see. I have a feeling that the impact that you have on people is not passing through three-dimensional resources or tools. It is passing through the energetic, and it's really easy to forget or to not see or recognize your own impact here. And my friends, I don't want this to happen to you where you give up because you don't know it's happening. So I'm here to remind you, like, yes, it's happening, and tune into the confirmation that you have access to. Open your eyes to seeing the signs that it's working. Okay? That was one of two things. What was the second thing? There was two things. One, you might not be thinking that it's happening. And two is the value and the importance of your presence in your own form. I think that you might have a capacity or a struggle in the past of not being in your body, not being all the way present, of not being here with yourself. And I think that's like, it's been too painful in the past. It's been too difficult in the past. It's been this, that, and the other thing. But again, take your time and slow down if you need to. I'm not sure if you listened to the last group, but part of the message that came through that's important for you to hear is taking rest breaks whenever you need to. Because it's more important to you for following that initial image of like, you're going through the dark woods, these little LED gumdrop lights are lighting up one at a time and they extinguish, you know, after you've passed them. And I I don't love warning stuff as much because it feels like, because that's not, we're not doom and gloom here, right? That's not but it is important for you to know that, yeah, if you get away from the path, it could be hard to find, you know, if you get away from the path, it could be hard to find. So it's important that you slow down and take the time that you need. Because if you freak out and go running in a certain direction and lose the lights, once you get too far away from the path, it's not, the last light doesn't stay on, it doesn't stay illuminated, because your path only lights up for you. It only lights up when you are close. It only lights up with your presence. You are the one who turns it on. And if you're not there, it's not going to stay illuminated, because it's not for anyone else to walk. It's your path. All right, my dears. The next thing I'm seeing is like a rucksack with snacks. And just like, I want to recognize and validate like how lonely this season of life feels for you. But it doesn't feel like a deep grief. It just feels like a solidarity, right? To be in solidarity is, it just feels like a solitude, but a solidarity with self. And it's important to validate here that the solidarity that you seek and that you keep is one, like you're strengthening this connection with yourself over time. And it's something that I don't think you can feel actually happening, but it is undeniably occurring over and over and over again. I also am getting that you'll be able to look back at this season of your life and you'll see that these are some of the most formative years in building connection and relationship with yourself. And just like a relationship with a significant other, or with a workspace, or even with a house, or a pet, or an animal, there are certain times when you put in a lot of that work. Like usually it's at the beginning, right? Where you're building the structure, you're building the foundation, you're building that, you're building. And then the maintenance of it is easier or harder depending on how well that building process went to begin with. And I'm seeing that a lot of your distractions have been peeled away and are falling back, so that way you can have this time, this uninterrupted alone time. Like you can have this really good time with yourself to build something so solid that it's like wearing a second skin going forward, you know? I don't know if you've ever had a relationship where it just like, it feels like a glove, right? Like it feels comfy and warm and like it fits well in all the right places. Not the kind of glove that like gives you webbed fingers, right? That's not quite tight enough or right, but it feels so good to be in that kind of a relational experience. It feels so good to wear those kinds of gloves where they fit really, really well and they're soft and cozy and they breathe well, you know? And so this is what you're building with yourself right now. This is a kind of connection, the kind of relationship that you're building and getting to know who you are. So I'm seeing, I don't know. And I don't really feel like there's anything, I don't feel like this reading is as much about like what you need to do as much as, just reflecting and mirroring where you're at, you know, and letting you know that it is where you're meant to be, and also, that this is a time that is going to feel so sweet to remember. Like it's going to feel so nourishing to call back upon this time in the future when you are out and about, when you are working with others, when you are networking in different ways, and when you don't have this solo time or this building time in whatever way this applies to you. So just sometimes knowing that in advance can help you appreciate it more as it's occurring. Another thing that I'm noticing now is on this path, I feel like you are going to see like road signs. You are going to come to like crossroads. And I don't think that, I know that you're not interested in taking them right now, because I feel like you're pretty well committed to the path that you're on. Like you're into the gumdrop lights and you're like, you know where you're supposed to be. But I think it is important to take note of what paths are crossing yours now, because they are going to be giving you hints and clues as to where you're going. So like if you're crossing streets, like if you're in a city and you're crossing streets and you're going to the city center, right? As you cross numbered street signs, like you're getting closer, right? Or you'll know when you've gone too far, because they're either counting up or they're counting to a specific number that you know what I mean, or mile markers. It's just like you can get a lot of information about where you're at just from road signs alone. You can tell, when these different opportunities are crossing your path and the frequency that they're crossing your path, that you're getting closer to where you want to be. Feel me? I don't think it would be a bad thing to like jot down some notes of what's like, so journaling right now could be a helpful tool to just, or like very captain's log, very ship's log, where you are, how do you say, when you're taking information, like logistical information that you don't need to be keeping in your noggin, you're just putting it down on paper so you can refer to it later. I feel like that's valuable or helpful for you, because the whole point is to keep your mind really present and to keep your mind really clear. And if we're going back to that opening message, or no, it was even before the opening message of like what was going on, the things that I was noticing of like, kind of like a solitude vibe, like the moat experience. I feel like the whole point of your experience right now is to be in a very quiet environment, so that way you can hear yourself think, and that way you just have like a maximum awareness of your surroundings. And to have a deeper awareness of your surroundings, you need to have less going on in here. It's like that thing of like when you're driving somewhere and you get to a neighborhood that you're going to your friend's house, you can't remember all the turns yet, or you're looking for certain turns and you have to turn the music down. I don't know if you've gotten to that age yet. They say it's an age thing, right? Of where you're like, okay, I have to turn the music down because I have to think. You know what I mean? You just have to quiet the stuff. And so the same thing goes where it's like if you're sidetracked in your mind, you're going to miss turns. And so I don't think that you have a lot of distractions in your mind right now. I think you are pretty singularly focused. But even when it comes to logistical or useful facts, tools, figures, however this applies to whatever is going on in your life right now, even taking those things that could be pertinent and writing them down, putting them behind you, making them so they're accessible, but not that you have to keep ruminating them. So you write down, it's like you write down your to-do list before you go into meditation, so that way you know that the paper has got your to-do list. You don't have to remember your to-do list. You know what I mean? And trusting that that's there for your access should you need it. All right, my loves, I think that's it for this group. I am so excited for you. Let me know if you come to a space where you want additional support. I think that it sounds, from like what came through, obviously it sounds like you are kind of trucking on your own accord lately, but know that should you come to a rough space or a spot where you need additional, maybe not even guidance for this group, but like steadying, I feel like you might just need some steadying. Know that I got you. Book in, and you can get whatever kind of support that you need informationally to kind of keep your feet feeling sure and confident and dry on this mission of yours. I feel like if anything upcoming, you will traverse a few rivers where you just like, oh, I don't know, like some emotional experiences come up and come across. And I think those can kind of make us feel unsteady, or like if you're hiking and then you hike through a river, having wet feet is just like not the ideal. So if you need some additional support at that point in time, you'll know where to find me. Yeah, feel free to save video to refer back to if that's the case, which is very on point with the, like, yeah, save this information. You don't need to keep it in your head now, but put it down on a list, whatever, in your calendar, and refer back to it if and when you need to. So much love. Good luck, group 3. You got this. Very, yeah, Lewis and Clark energy twice today. Love that. Okay, let's go ahead and close up this connection. Gratitude always. Gratitude always. Gratitude. Yeah, always. For those of you that come here and show up and contribute your energy and contribute your connection and collaborate and co-create in this space, because this is, yeah, definitely a collaboration and co-creation that I'm so thrilled to be a part of. So thank you. Yeah, thank you for the trust and the opportunity and the rhythm and pace. I love it. I love it. I love it. Okay. In love and light, I thank our masters, teachers, and loved ones for their information and guidance. Amen. 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 The records are closed. Okay, y'all. The last thing that I see, it feels like a dirt path. Have you ever walked on a cow path before, or like a goat path, or like a hooved animal path? Because it's funny that like there can be like a whole pasture, and if there's like, unless it's literally a pasture where everyone's just milling about, unless it's that, there's usually like a particular path, right? Like there's walking the same path over and over and over and over again, and it kind of wears away the grass, and it kind of creates this divot in the dirt. And I just feel this energy of like taking a broom and sweeping off that path. And I think this is what we're doing here today. Like, this is what is happening for all of us, is as we come to walk our paths on this planet and on this earth, we are not ever walking alone. Even if we are alone, there energetically are other people with us all the time, because even if we're not walking that path at the very same time, it's one that's well traveled, and it's one that's been traveled before and will be traveled again. Even when we are pioneering the path, because time and energy don't bow to one another like that. Even if you're pioneering, you're also walking at the same time as people who come 100 people behind you. You're walking it together. And acknowledging this kind of just like brushes the rocks off of that path that can potentially trip people up, or like twist an ankle, something like that. But it's just the recognition of energetic time, space, discontinuation, right? The peeling back of one from the other allows us to keep the pathway clear for those of us to follow. Yeah, which is why it's always good to carry a broom. I love it. Thank you guys for coming today, and yeah, I'd love to hear from you. Let me know your thoughts and feels, and yeah, I'm just very thankful for this space and time, and yeah, be well, take care, and I'll see you next Wednesday.